Welcome to You Can't Make This Shit Up, a Jay in Washington production. I am Joel Hoxley, your host. David Washington is absolutely off of this broadcast because we have brought in our favorite political salsa dancer, Christian Lloyd Suarez.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having me.
I said, it's just, the show's called You Can't Make This Shit Up, so let's make some shit up,
Let's make this shit up.
Let's
right
go.
I
What
like
do you
it.
want to talk about? Hey, how about Ethan Hooper?
Ethan Hooper. I want to say he's that teacher.
He's a teacher. He's a middle school teacher with sixth graders. The most impressionable children in the world.
Yeah.
And you're a big TikTok fan. I know you are.
Oh, yeah. Real big TikTok enthusiast here.
So.
The complete opposite is true, of
Oh
course.
my goodness. So.
Howard Middle School, Orlando. Relevant,
so
right? Right here?
It's very relevant. We always talk about local issues, so we're going to talk about this. TikTok
happened there?
video. So TikTok videos. Do you use your students in TikTok videos? And do you allow the children, the young adults, to do just you video them and let them do? I mean, you're not producing it.
Let me tell you, I'm particularly, let's see if we set it up. This is what happens, right?
Okay.
As we understand the facts as they've come to us, this teacher was involved in a TikTok video. Now, the report with the students, and it's apparently it's a video. So it's some video about books, right? About books, about the book banning.
That's just one of them.
The only thing I've seen or heard in the video, because I haven't seen the video in full disclosure, is that I heard them saying books are bad. So the kids chanting books are bad. The teacher was a part of this TikTok. Right, so that is the controversy. The teacher was a part. We don't know if the kids make. Because the article I read said it was the kids' TikTok account. They're the ones actually making. He was assisting or aiding.
Okay, so it is. So I did, since I am a TikToker. No, my granddaughter is teaching me how to TikTok.
Sure.
She is, and I got 3 whole TikToks
Under your belt.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they're all of my granddaughter.
Okay, very nice.
Like going to church.
Okay.
So this is my granddaughter before church. She's like sitting there, drinking coffee with me, and then she's not expecting that I was doing it. Yeah, you got to see it. You can't make this shit up.
I'm sure it's clever. I'm sure it's cute. I'm sure it's adorable.
No, it's not.
That's how they get you, by the way.
It's stupid, and that's the only thing that sells on this. But I did. I went to the TikTok, and maybe later we can put it up. But I mean, this is just students dancing.
Okay.
So that's
not political in nature.
That's not political in nature, but it could be misconstrued.
Well, I think the video he's under fire for.
Here you go. Dance. TikTok.
This is not going to play well for a podcast. People can't see it. We can put the video in later on, though,
I'm
right?
saying we're going to put the video in because you haven't even seen the video.
Right.
I have you at a disadvantage because I have TikTok and I have seen the video.
Oh, no. Don't, please. I'm not at a disadvantage because you have TikTok. I promise you.
No. You are at a disadvantage.
I have other disadvantages, but it ain't TikTok.
Yeah, you got, like, social media is the place to be. I mean, come on.
I used to be a social media guy. Like, I'm telling you, back when the internet was, like, friendly and cool and exciting, now it's more, like, dark and dangerous and scary right now.
Well, it's only what you make it.
Sure. I mean, but we see how it's being made, right? And it's not just my project. It is everyone's project, right? So that is what the internet's turning a little gross to me. Honestly, I pulled back big time.
Okay.
In fact, my New Year's resolution for 23 is to get back in socials because, if you're not talking on socials, unfortunately, there's a whole conversation happening without you.
So you need to get the fuck out because we're using social media right now. So okay, I'm sorry.
I'm committed I'm actually doing my resolution. I'm doing it.
You could hit a drum for that one. Like it's like.
There you go.
Because you can't make this shit up. So you're on social, but you're not on social. So got
this
that.
teacher, though, this teacher,
Mr. Hooper
is involved. Let's just reduce it down. Let's take it down and let's just say the only thing he did was hold the camera for the kids while the kids chanted "books are bad." Let's just say at a bare minimum, because all we can confirm, what I know is that's part of it. That's why it's in the newscast. I'm comfortable saying the kids were chanting "books are bad," some comical way, and let's just say that the guy wasn't even in the video but holding the camera. What say you, Joel? Is it constitutional?
Well, first of all,
is it constitutional, sir?
So first of all, freedom of speech does come into play because this is government. Government runs our schools. We're one of the only countries that we make sure that our children go to 12 years of school, available for free.
Okay.
Okay, we're not communists though, but sounds communist to me.
And we want our teachers. We want our teachers to feel as if they have the free protections of all of our laws when they interact with our children, right?
Correct. So this does have a freedom of speech element, because if it was a business, it would be different.
Sure.
So if it was is it a charter school?
That's a very good point,
Wait,
right?
is it a charter school?
No, Howard Elementary or Howard Middle School rather
Right.
is
So-
not. No, it's publicly funded.
So that's making it clear, and you know why I made it clear, right?
Sure, but be deliberate.
Because a charter
Spell it out.
school is not a charter school is a private business.
And our
Okay,
laws
even-
don't regulate against private
and they-
businesses, right?
And because we give vouchers, this is another controversial thing we could talk about later, but it would be a little different. My opinion would be a little different if it was a charter school. But this is a public school.
Sure.
100%.
Publicly funded.
100% the First Amendment plays into it. The teacher has the fundamental right to say what he needs to or what he wants to say. The students,
Or in
The
this
students
instance,
have-
to help the students maybe flex their voice. The
But the
student has
student-
something to say, so he's in the role as a teacher helping to produce this thing.
so the students have a right
Yeah.
to say what they want to say. It's government time. So if the government says, hey, we want to come in there and stop this, if the school board wants to stop this, the student, he would never have been suspended.
So I'm setting this up.
For
By the
me,
way,
for me, he's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Why is
can
he
we say where
suspended?
Orange County? Let's do real quickly. This is where Orange County came down on it. Okay, Orange County Public Schools says we will not tolerate the use of our children as political pawns. Any employee who creates videos or other content with students in an effort to exploit them for political purposes will be immediately removed from the classroom, placed on administrative leave, and swift action will be taken to terminate the employment. So this is how Orange County's come down on this, for the record, right?
Again, I
Yeah.
disagree. I agree with the statement. We will not allow a teacher to make them political pawns, but you have to prove that he's the
Right.
one who's.
Right.
Is he producing it?
Thank you.
Is he the one who's the brainchild behind it? Is it just, hey, we want to express ourselves, teacher, and he says, you can express yourselves on TikTok. I have no problem because you have the freedom of speech.
That's an interesting choice of turn of phrase you use, right? The brainchild. Is there any project where there's one adult and 50 kids and the adult is not the brainchild?
Yes.
No, I mean the adult. Anytime there's an adult in a room full of children, that's the brainchild, right? That's the person who's running it, in my opinion.
He runs a classroom,
to
but
some degree, right?
he runs a classroom. But the subject, this is down the subject matter, right? This is.
I don't know about that. I don't know if this had anything to do with the subject
No,
matter.
but I'm
And by the way,
saying-
it was done outside of class. It was like that the report goes through the trouble of explaining that this was done sort of an extracurricular time on the school campus.
Correct.
If that is a thing that we
That's fine.
acknowledge.
Like it's like after school programs, right?
No, this is actually during school. I'm thinking like lunchtime, because he was like his planning period or whatever. It was, that's what the article I saw at least said. It was like his planning period. To me, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, I'm trying to steelman his case as best I can here, because I think
Mr. Hooper and I.
common sense wins the day. We don't want our teachers.
Listen, Mr. Hooper and I are friends. So, I mean, this is the kind of guy I want to hang out with. Like, you have a classroom full of kids that want to express themselves. Let them express themselves. Like,
Wow.
just let it out. Just be who you are. This is
Mr. Hooper,
It's the First Amendment.
free speech fundamentalist.
Listen,
You know?
let him go. Let him. They are burning, but listen.
We have a
I'm
bigger
co-
issue at
I'm
hand,
a
by the way.
Hey, I'm a conservative, and this goes right down my alley because I tell you, the Moms for Liberty. I'm sorry. I am
They sound hot.
sound hot, but they must be
Moms
like
for Liberty.
they must be like the Salem witch hunt or something, because this is not the time. We embarrass ourselves when we go too far. When we attack the books that are being given to our children. Yes, you don't want pornography given to your children. You want to protect them. Parents, let me tell you something. When you get home, you go on to your Twitter account that you have, and you play and you say your little rude things and whatever you do, and just look up some of the sexual content that you just click on and it opens up. Like, tell me that the children, tell me these children in class are getting more of that in school than they are in a book.
Right. So this is what's interesting about this issue that's
Mm-hmm.
come up is that got to pull the camera back a little bit further. Why are we even having this discussion, right? Why in the hell are children TikToking at school?
Right.
Anyway, and it's not a matter of TikTok. Why are kids Instagramming at school? So the conversation needs to be, what are we doing with this technology, this tech in our classrooms, right? And the only argument I can think of, again, trying to steelman their case would be, well, in case, listen, there's never been a time where our schools are more dangerous and you have to have a way to contact your kid. You know, you want to make sure that they have their phones available. How do you argue with that? But what are we that slow on creating rules or being smart about this stuff where we can't, it's not common sense to just say no social media in school? Your phone should be only utilized when and if there's an emergency. I can't imagine there's room for this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter to me if the guy is holding the camera, if he's in the video himself. It's all inappropriate. The teacher should be saying, put your TikTok down and pick up a book, or maybe that's an old way of thinking. But your teacher should be, I don't know that he's got to be smarter than that. If you're helping kids make a cynical video, books are bad. I mean, clearly they're trying to make fun, or maybe I guess they're trying to express themselves. I get it, but let the kids do what kids do.
Okay.
The adults do what the adults do. Go to the teacher planning room and plan a lesson plan around how you're going to use TikTok. Don't play with the kids on their off time and your off time. Those details were given in the story, in my opinion, to give cover for the teacher. Oh, it's his off time. It was own personal time. That's irrelevant.
Oh, there you go.
Guy's out of line.
No, he's not.
Way out of line.
You're banning free speech in school.
I'm
You just
curtailing
know
it.
you.
I'm saying don't yell fire in our schools.
No, that's not what you're saying. Because I get what you're saying. Because you're saying
These are mini fires that are
No.
coming out. Oh, the teacher did that because the whole shit's inappropriate.
the teacher did not endanger these children.
Ooh. Okay.
They already are on TikTok. They are already
Sure.
expressing themselves. They are already doing this stuff. All he's doing is facilitating
Ooh.
a right that they have in that public school.
And we pay for that, by the way. We're going to pay for him to facilitate that, right? We're paying because we pay a salary as taxpayers, right? So if we're paying a salary as taxpayers, I would say you're there in a role of teaching, and if you think you're still helping and assisting and instructing, I would really call him to the mat. I would love to talk to the guy and be like, how did you think this is going to move the ball forward? Kids being cynical, saying books are bad, making some sort of joke. And again, I haven't
Listen,
seen the TikTok, so
it doesn't matter.
I shouldn't be so full-throated about this.
But no.
I'm just tired of the cynical online culture. What are we doing? How are you moving the ball forward? What's going to change?
What are they doing? They're basically telling people that they're tired of these Moms for Liberty people coming into their school and taking decent books away, like Roberto Clemente. We want to go attack him because he has a book, or we have a book that two young ladies are in a situation. They're in a situation in this book which we would find inappropriate. But we've had this discussion just off camera. The Bible has more pornography in it than this book that I'm talking about. So it's like we're going to go, what are we going to read every single book and take every single line? This is book burning, and I'm sorry. It's my party. These are people in my party. They want to be morally right. Yes, be morally right. But you got to understand, I am in a country where you have the right to offend me. And I'm the most offensive person in the world. 'Cause I mean, you could sit with me and say, Joe, when you talk history, you're a different person. Yes, because
You
I
ever get his
enjoy
brow?
it.
You ever see his brow when he wrinkles him? He gets mad at him. He's like, he's pissed you don't know this part of history. He's just like,
It's like,
so disappointed in you.
God, I'm so disappointed.
That's a bad feeling.
It really is. Look, but to me, it's like these are things that we miss out on. And this teacher should be teaching that. I get that.
Right,
So, what I'm saying is public schools is free speech. When you can age appropriate books, but you shouldn't be throwing them out. You shouldn't be, if a book was written for a certain age group and it has something you're not comfortable with, listen, I know all you're doing is trying to protect your child from the same shit you did. I'm sure you were fondling your boyfriend. You were doing these things at this age. And you're now trying to protect your children from what you did. Like, I'm sorry. This is like, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Like, where are we at? Like, our children the more, listen, I'm going to say this, and I know I stop, but this is where I'm at. If you tell a person they cannot drink until they're 21, they're going to drink before they're 21. And there are parents that will facilitate this because it's in our home. They're our child. And we know they're in a safe environment. That's where I want my
in my
child.
home, it was as long as you're able to die for your country, you can have a drink in your home.
Oh, that's
That was the rule.
Listen,
you can die for your country, you can have a drink.
I was in the
home.
military at 17 years old, and now you're telling me I can't have a drink? I'm an adult.
So I'm agreeing. My parents circumvented the rules within our own home because we had our own value set. You
and
know what I mean?
we did the same thing in my home.
Yeah.
Like, if my children want to, they're 18 years old.
Right.
Look, they're 16 years old.
That's a critical thing. People don't like to think of this little detail. When I come to that, in my home, my parents let me drink at 18. Sounds great, but if I told you in my home we don't think that men and women marry, and then people have a problem with what's being taught in my home. You know, it's interesting, that line, right?
Yeah.
Where do I get to have my own, and where do
But-
you get to have your own?
But now you and I just exposed something, right? So the police could say, okay, well, I have all adult children, so yeah, you can't do anything to me now. But listen, this is common sense.
Yeah.
Parents should be parenting. And the only reason parents are trying to parent now is because of a pandemic. Have I never said enough P's there? But the pandemic brought these parents into a classroom, and they didn't like what they were seeing.
Yeah.
But it's because
I also think
these
the internet
kids are
brought
learning.
the classroom into people's homes a little
It
bit. Also,
did, because
that
that's what
happened too.
they went online, right?
Right.
So these parents now saw something they didn't like.
Libs at TikTok did a great job. I mean, that's what Libs at TikTok does, right? They did a really good job of, to my opinion, taking a thing that's this small and making it this big of an issue, making it seem as if it's a really big issue.
Well-
this is what they're,
well-
honestly, Republicans are really pretty good at that.
So think about this, right? You have Twitter, and I'm not going to talk about today's Twitter. I'm going to talk about Twitter at the very beginning. 140 characters. Is there any decent thing you can say in 140 characters? Is there? You could say I love you. You could say I really enjoyed this, but no, we don't say that.
The definition of a Twitter is a short burst of information.
And
It was
that-
originally developed for dispatch truckers to communicate with one another, by the way, Twitter. I'm just saying.
You're just saying, but I'm telling you, just not very much you can say in 140 characters. That's very good.
I know. No, I know.
And I'm going to now defend it because there was a book that came out with just Twitter, like all these Twitter things, and you read this book and you're just buckled over laughing because you have to actually put them in a premise too, because you can't just say this guy said this. You have to kind of lead up to why it was said.
Sure. I mean, again, this back to our conversation over there. How are things compiling, right? Well, we have all these issues. We want to focus on Mr. Hooper right now, but then I also want to focus on having technology in classrooms at all. But I also want to focus on not removing books, right? Why are we even having this debate? Why are the kids, it's true, the kids do have a right to express themselves. Clearly, the kids have an idea about this. And I'm not going to pretend to say, oh, it's because the teachers made them feel that way. I'm not going to take agency away from children like that. I believe some of these kids genuinely have feelings, and again, they've discussed things in their home, and their family may have politically swayed opinions, but that doesn't mean they're not valuable or they don't have a value, right? So yeah, I want the kids to be able to flex and be able to say, hey, we think this is stupid, and if they want to use TikTok as a way to clown book banning, I get that. I think we all agree the teacher doesn't have a role there, and that part of it though.
What do you mean?
The teacher doesn't have a role in facilitating that statement that
Oh,
the
if
children
he's
want to
teaching
make.
the First Amendment, he does.
But we don't know that's the case. By
We
the way.
don't know the case.
But let's keep
but,
playing with it. If he's teaching the
but
First
if he's
Amendment,
teaching the First Amendment, right?
agreed.
Listen, hey, I'm teaching the First Amendment
Sure.
in my classroom, and they want to know how far they can go. This
Yeah.
is what I did. I said, look, you
Agreed.
can go as far as you
In
want
fact,
to.
I would applaud that teacher now because now he's using new mediums. Because when I said before that kids should be going in the books, I don't even mean that actually. That's like an old man way
Now-
of thinking. We got to use different mediums to teach people. People don't like reading books anymore because our brains have been fundamentally changed by these gadgets.
Yeah, well, Christian,
So we kind of have to lean into it because we're not going backwards.
Well,
we're not
Christian-
putting the toothpaste back in the.
right. But I'm going to say something now. And you're going to go, okay, there's Joel. Joel just contradicted himself 100%.
Oh, that's
If
fine.
you're
though. I like
if
that.
you're a parent and you have children that are on social media before they're in high school, then you're not doing your child any good.
I agree there.
And in middle school, this is where that's most critical. So this is where I'm going to disagree with the teacher, but
Yeah.
I think that anybody in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they're vulnerable
Right.
at this age. This is the age that
Adolescence, man.
this is the age that
Full
you know
adolescence.
I started learning sex education in
Right.
school.
Right.
and-
Puberty.
and I was listen. I'm not.
That's
gonna
right when I
lie.
broke bad.
I was
13.
I was like, hey, my bus driver, if she ever watches this, she's going to go after me. But
Bus driver's still alive, Joe?
my bus driver's got to be alive. She's got to be alive. But she had a daughter. And like we lived
She's
in the
probably
same.
alive.
We still. Rachel's definitely alive.
Hi,
but-
Rachel. Sorry.
But
Sorry about your mom.
but it's like, hey, we were young. We were, exploring, and we were exploring things that
You
we
and Rachel?
probably- yes, we were exploring things that we
Oh.
probably shouldn't, because we knew when Mom got home because the bus route was a certain distance. But
We're not talking about trains, but I
we're
do feel
talking
like
s-
we're off the rails.
we talk about we talk about 4 things. We talk about sex. We talk about money. We talk about politics. And we definitely
wow.
talked about a religion.
yeah.
But I love it because I'm not going to be. Listen, I was bad, and my wife wasn't. My wife's a totally different, raised with different parents. My mother was at school, her mom was busy. We were very good friends, and we, fortunately or unfortunately.
How are you going to bring this back to defending this teacher is what I want to know. Because you got to bring it, because you were about to say this is where you disagree with the teacher.
I disagree. I'm saying we do these things. If I'm doing this and I had this technology, no. I think middle school. I don't think sex education really. When we started learning sex education, that's when Rachel and I knew about our bodies. We wanted to see, if hey, have you started to have your pubic hair?
This
Have you,
is
like-
but this is a private, so you have a private education. You guys
This is
worked
no,
out
it's
your
public.
own private
Yeah, but
education.
but we're getting it from public school. Now
Uh-huh.
think about this, and it's going to be funny for me because I always joke about it. We had Mr. and Mrs. Snow. Now Mrs. Snow is my sex ed teacher, and Mr. Snow is my science teacher. So we're learning biology from one, and we're learning how from the other. And she's pregnant, so you don't. Mr. Snow used
Very
to.
literal education, huh?
Mr. Snow really did not appreciate when our class was right after hers, and we would come in and say, "We know what you were doing." And what month is she in? Oh, we pick on him all the time. But
Kids got
Yep.
their calendars out, or their abacuses, whatever
But
it was
this
you
is
guys
what
used
I'm
back
talking
then.
this is it. If I look at my history, my poor history, which I shared with people, I'm protecting my children from what I did that's wrong. Like why
Right.
we keep moving adulthood.
I like that.
We keep
Protecting
moving
my
adult.
children from what I did that's wrong. Let's clean that up a little bit. What do we mean? Let's say it again. I like that. Protecting my children from what I got wrong.
Yeah, so we're always trying to protect our children from things that we probably shouldn't have done or we don't want them to do because hey, you know when you were having sex.
Right.
I mean, you don't want your daughter to have sex at that time. You know, we keep moving adulthood
Right.
to a different level. Like I don't want my
Dude,
kids.
so true.
I don't want my kids doing anything till they're 21. I don't want my kids doing something till 18.
And we
Be
understanding as a dad, we have
overprote-
that governor inside of us. Where we understand we got to let them grow, especially dads of young men, right? Young boys. We know we got to let our kids go a little bit,
And why is
but
it
you're
different?
still trying to protect and guard.
And then I do this. Why is it different for a girl and a boy? Why is it that parents are less likely to be hard on or
On their daughters?
on the boy, and yet their daughters? We just had a conversation earlier today about abortion, and
Wait, but what do you think? Finish the thought. You think that
I think that we treat our daughters worse than we treat our sons when it comes
Really?
to this subject because we have a young stud out there.
I think society is constantly reaffirming women. You can do anything, and men, I believe young men are. You better get up here and
But
get
when
it
you're
solved.
parent- but-
Figure it out.
But when you're parenting, you're not sitting at home wondering if your son's having sex.
No, I mean I'm not. Well, my son.
You're
he's
worried
9,
about
it's
your
not-
daughter. You're
my-
worried about.
Yeah.
You're
I
worried
know
about
you're
your
saying
daughter.
We're protective. Maybe we're more protective of our daughters.
I'm
But how does
sorry.
that translate? How does that actually play out in the world?
I'm saying
That
the
protection.
more you.
They have more rights. They're like
more-
superhumans versus us.
Okay, but even if they're superhuman, I'm saying you're as a parent want them to not have their period. You don't want them to be out there and be sexually active. You
Yeah.
don't want all this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's
That's
true.
what
I
I'm
would
saying.
not want my daughter to have
But
a
you
period.
don't. But you
I
don't.
hear they're not fun.
But you don't think, hey, my son's out there and he's got 12 girls pregnant, and we're going to be in the courts forever because he's not taking responsibility. I mean, I told my son, wear a condom. Like, I'm not afraid to say it.
When is
But
he?
they-
My son's 9. And I've tinkered around the edges, but I haven't all the way gone there. But he won't have a TikTok, that's for sure. That's for one thing.
Well, I think
He's not going to learn it from TikTok because that's sort of what's happening. He's picking up a lot of things. You got to see the insights he shares with me. He says them to me like they're fact. He starts explaining things to me sometimes. I go, son, did you want to ask me how that works, or you're telling me? Did you have questions about this? No, I'm letting you
Christian-
know, bro. He's putting me on.
Christian, I could tell you stories. Like David looks at me and says, Joel, I don't know how you deal with this. Like I have. Now, how do I say this without getting in trouble? So I have my son just got married. Congratulations to my son.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to my son.
What's his name?
He's that's Joshua. He just got married to
Way to go,
his
Josh.
girlfriend. I wasn't invited to the wedding, so I don't know anything about this. But
Yeah, you've mentioned that twice now. We're going to have to explore this at one point.
I don't care.
Okay.
He knew.
Sure. We'll
he
gloss
could-
by it, but for now.
He could have said, "Hey, Dad, would you like to go?" And I would have said, "Why? I see you guys together every day. Like,
Okay.
I don't care."
All right. You wouldn't have mentioned it twice, but we'll move past it for now. But go ahead.
I do care, but I don't care.
Okay.
I mean, this just the level of disrespect. So, where I'm going with this is, how do you put it? Like, I have in my household
Yeah.
a cupcake.
Okay.
Do you know what a cupcake is? No, you don't.
No.
I feel like a cupcake. I want to be a cupcake. I'm a cupcake. I'm a cupcake. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And Joel is just enough of an asshole to tell this young lady who thinks she's a boy, who thinks who thinks today she's a cupcake. I say,
This is
what?
a book. This is a book. A
What
cupcake.
flavor are you, Emma? What flavor are you? Because if you're a cupcake, I want to know what flavor you've chosen.
Okay.
And she had 2 flavors, and I said, you can't have 2 flavors, because if you're a cupcake, you only have 1 flavor, and once you're eaten, you're gone. Like, if you feel like you're
Okay.
a cupcake, this doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to say this makes no sense.
The
But this is a
analogy
new
is-
this is a new thing
Uh-huh.
that has been added to this long list. Like, we have bisexual, we have homosexual, we have
Right.
anti-sexual, we
Yeah.
have all these different things. Now we have them being taught that they can be whatever they want to be, and
Okay.
she wants to be a cupcake. And
To me, it's a natural extension. All I've heard my whole life was you can be whatever you want to be.
but this is way beyond. Like, I'm still.
Maybe you guys should have been more careful in your language.
I'm
is
still,
what I would say.
I'm still X and Y. I'm still X and Y, and this is not coming from my house. This is coming from YouTube and all the social media
Sure,
you're
sure,
talking
sure.
about. This little girl, who's in the 4th grade, 5th grade. I mean, blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
speechless at this moment because you don't
Yeah.
have it yet, but you're going to see it.
Hmm.
And what your reaction to these different things are is going to even kind of push you. Like,
No, so I already am dealing. Like I said, my son's 9, so I
Yeah.
have already had some dealings with this already. But again, in my home, we're probably not a good case study.
No,
'Cause
my
I
gran-
talk about everything in my home.
my
you know?
granddaughter, God bless her soul. Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, and she's been making me go to all these different churches. So
Okay.
we knew that Ash Wednesday we could go.
Who you do the TikToks with?
Yeah, my granddaughter. Yes.
Gotcha, okay. I'm paying
So
attention,
we're-
Joel. I'm paying
So we're
attention,
going
that's all.
to go over and we're going to do a drive-by. We're going to do a drive-by Ash at an Episcopal church because
Drive by, put
we
your head out
know
the window and
we
they
know
ask you.
we know at 4:30 to 6:00 the preacher the pastor is going to be outside on the roundabout on Lakeview. So when you're following Lakeview, if you go into the David's church, if you go in there, the Episcopal church has a rounded driveway, and all you had to do is drive up, roll down your window, and she would from ashes you became, and ashes you'll go.
Okay.
So it was. I'm bringing her there, and the reason I'm telling you this
Right.
is because on the way there, she says, yeah, I'm a lesbian.
Really?
And I'm like, I didn't say anything. So I'm
Good.
being the proper listener.
Is it? Okay, you're listening. 'Cause
I'm
she only
being the-
said it because she wants a reaction out of you. So not saying anything
I'm being
could be a bad reception.
I'm
actually.
being the listener. And she tells me, she goes through the story. Like, and then she's not a commitment. You know, we know we're not here. We know it. I said, because I said, I think it's too early for you to know this thing because there's just so many different things that you'll experience. She's in the 6th grade. This is exactly what you expect the exploring to happen. TikTok, whatever it is, I don't agree with what they did to the teacher. I think they should discipline the teacher if discipline is necessary. But to fire, to call it political pawns and all this stuff, you need to do the research.
She's
And
aggressive, right?
I think it was over the top.
Sounds
So
like aggressive language.
I'm there. Listen,
Yeah.
I totally leave my Republican Party and Democrat Party at times because I get mad at both of them. The hypocrisy.
You know, that's what a true salsedo does, man. A true salsedo, you're dancing, you're moving, you're taking in information, and you're moving on your feet.
Well,
That's what a true salsedo does. You can't be so steeped in your positions. You know, it reminds me of the story of the Japanese. You know the story of the Japanese, the guy who was fighting World War II for 40 years or whatever in the jungle, and they couldn't get him out of the jungle. They sent in people. They sent in dropped leaflets. He read the leaflets. They said the war was over. He thought they're trying to trick me.
They were trying.
He went deeper in. They brought his brother out to the jungle. His brother said, "Come out of the woods. The war's over." They went. What did he thought? They indoctrinated my brother. They got my brother now. The guy was so steep in his position. He fought a war on his own for 30 years in the jungle.
Yep. So we're going to wrap up. I think we came to a lot of good discussion. I appreciate that because I just I share too much maybe, but it's good to let people know that you're not afraid to have these conversations, and maybe they'll start talking.
Yeah, man.
But now tell me,
Yeah.
we have one thing I need you to tell our audience because we take every moment to pitch something.
Okay.
And Jay in Washington
Yeah.
is big into a lot of things, but
Right.
we are very excited about our partnership with you, Christian.
Yes.
So quick tell our audience about your venture
Sure.
that is under the Jay in Washington umbrella.
Yes. I'm not sure how far back we want to go with it.
Just
want
tell
me
them
to-
about the
yeah.
event and
Sure.
you know, where we're at, and they
Political
know
salsa.
they know political salsa's out there, but they don't know
Okay.
they're meeting you for maybe a second time. So
Sure, that's true. So political salsa is a straw poll. It's a convention. It's like a political mixer, right? It's an excuse to get into a room. And we've been doing it since about 2014 or so. But since the pandemic, we kind of hit the skids, right? We couldn't even get in a room again. So we've been trying to. I've been trying to figure out, do people want to do this? And, you know, one thing I'd like to share with the audience that might not be readily like something people notice right away is that we've had a lot of success in getting campaigns and candidates into the room. Like I said, at times we had 60. In 2018, we had probably 4 of the 6 gubernatorial candidates in the room. So, you know, it was a successful event by a lot of measures, right? But since we didn't have our event in 2020, I didn't get a phone call from any elected official or anyone even wanted to. No one called me to say, "Why aren't you having it?" No one called me in 21 or 22. You know, so I just think it's important to get across to people. This only happens if you get in the room. The only reason the leadership comes are the people who want votes is because people come. So I think that's a big part of why I needed to find someone who shares the vision in political salsa. People may not know that. I don't know if you guys met there, but Joel Hawksley had been at Political Salsa on his own accord, independent of David, and David had been to Political Salsa on his own accord, independent of Joel. So you had both been in the room already. So to me, it was very cool when I heard you guys partnered up. I thought, this is where it has to be. So I love the idea that you come from the right, he comes from the left. I love the idea of anyone trying to make things together, especially through this time and awkwardness. To me, I think that's how the most beautiful things are built, actually, typically.
well, we've the last thing I'll say on this is your ideas have translated into a beautiful opportunity because we're not just going to do it every 2 years because we know that we elect these people. So how about the people we elected being in the room too? So we've expanded on your ideas.
Sure.
You said something, and all of a sudden I was like,
Yeah.
we can't just do this once a year. We need to get this to be a routine.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that they're prepared so when next year It's just before. I mean, we put this just
Yeah.
before the primaries. Like, we put it dangerously close.
So yeah, in 2018, I made a what might be considered a somewhat controversial decision. You know, I wanted to bring the internet in the room, and we received pushback first and foremost from the business communities that kind of recoiled and, oh, we don't know if we want to be attached to this stuff. You know, anything online culture. You know, so it got us thinking. I shared that stuff with you, and you were like, well, but we need to make them part of the process, of course, right? It's something we hadn't done before. We only focused on the campaign years, but you know. Again, in the keeping with political salsa, where all things are political, right? All things are salsa. Everything's sort of together. It only makes sense, again, like we've been saying, to pull it back a little bit. So instead of doing it in an election year, we're going to do it in an off-election year. We're going to let the business community in the room, and we're going to let the business community sort of set the table for what we want the leadership to talk about in 24, the next year when we have it.
And now with our partnership,
Yes.
okay, it's going to be real quick. This is our partnership is with Roboland, and Roboland gives us a great opportunity to talk about a subject. I'm not going to get into it.
Sure.
That we are actually coming to grips with and figuring out
Public trust. That's what we're
Public-
talking about.
exactly.
We don't have to go into the details yet. The details and the minutiae for
coming.
July.
They're
For
coming out,
July
but-
and then leading up to
But
it.
we're talking about public trust, and you
Public
said it all the
trust.
time. So we trust you to watch this show. We trust you to understand that we didn't make this shit up. Like, we didn't make this shit up. David was crazy enough to get us in the room together and said, listen, I like what you got, the product. So we can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Let's get out of here and have a great day.
Thanks. Good chat. Good chat.